But yeah, so what we're going to do today is basically a few weeks ago, as you can see on the 9th of January, I asked people to put in questions on a YouTube video. And what we're going to do is we'll go through the questions from it. And also at the same time, I'll take questions for the chat as well. So we'll do one question from YouTube and then one question from chat and so on and so forth. So should be pretty good. And we'll just do it like that. Obviously, some of the comments here are talking about stuff in the game, or stuff in the video itself. But there are some which are actual questions, like from Balloon Boy. So we'll have to go through it. So, what nations do you think would be great for subtech trees? I mean, to be honest with you, when it comes to subtech trees, anything is possible, really. The subtech tree that we've seen so far is South Africa, and I think that was probably one of the best examples of a subtree, because it had a ton of unique vehicles, it had a ton of interesting vehicles to play, and it really sold a lot of people the idea of subtrees, and I'm really happy about that. Because to be honest with you, subtrees is something that I've personally been interested in for a very long time when it comes to War Thunder, and to see it in fruition is really, really awesome. So if I was going to label some of them, Hungary, you know, especially with their Second World War stuff, Romania, of course, any of the minor European nations, you could fit them in different tech trees, Australia, Canada. You know, the possibilities are endless. Subtrees don't, the nations don't need vehicles from all four of the major areas. You know, naval, helicopters, aviation, ground. They can just be one specific tech tree in that specific area. You just need like a link towards them. I would have actually preferred if Israel was two sets of subtrees, but mainly just one for America, just for the ground stuff, because to be honest, they're looking incredibly weak right now. I hope that the focus when it comes to War Thunder is pushed more towards the idea of subtrees instead of independent ones, because as we've seen when it comes to Israel, it can be really rough. Let's put it like that. Now with certain independent nations being put in, so yeah, that it kind of sucks the way that Israel was treated. So I would have preferred them to be a subtree. But stuff like Hungary, stuff like Romania, even stuff such as India could be put into the American tree. The fact is, the possibility is endless. You could even have Yugoslavia in the Soviet tree if you wanted, or even some of the other nations in that area. You know, South Korea could be put in the American tech tree, but they have a lot of Soviet vehicles, so I think they're probably better as event vehicles. That's really the question. The question is, do you want? Are there enough vehicles to make a sub-tech tree? And if there aren't, and they aren't unique enough, then I think making them as a event vehicle set of vehicles is probably the way to go. So for certain nations like South Korea, which have obviously, you know, the K2, which is a really cool vehicle based off the XM1, at least when it started, I feel like they don't have really enough vehicles to be kind of a subtree, but event vehicles would be kind of interesting to see. So I think that would be quite nice. And right, so the next one is from Austin. Hey Chris, nice to see you. So I have a question. I love watching your vids, and I figured you might know the answer. Why is it that they only have one Blue Angel skin when they have other aircraft that was used by them, or why the F-84G doesn't have the Thunderbird skin? I mean, it could be several things, right? So the first one, it could be the fact that nobody's made them on the market or for War Thunder Live. And there's not much up to par on War Thunder Live, so they haven't been put in skin boxes. It might be the fact that they might be saving them for an event or later on. It might be a fact that maybe they don't feel like there's interest there when it comes to the Blue Angels idea, which I'm sure isn't the case because as an American vehicle, generally they'll probably have a decent amount of money behind them. Thank you for the follow, Eric Galo. That's very kind of you. So for me, it's probably just one of those wait and be patient things. They'll eventually come in general when it comes to these things. Hey, I like games. Nice to see you. How am I doing today? I'm doing well. I'm feeling good. Good day at work. Good workout. I'm feeling all right today. So everything's pretty nice. One thing I don't know a lot about is how they actually contract out skin creation. I would like to learn about that actually. Like, do they just go to several artists and ask them to make the skins and all of that stuff? Is it made by the same artist? Like, how does it all work? So that would be kind of interesting to see. And then Maton Foxer says, my big brain question: how do you deal with all the negativity in the community? Now, this is one of those things which gets brought up quite a lot, especially around January, because for some reason January for a lot of people is a very negative month. It's one of those which is seen as one of the more negative months of the year. It's after Christmas, people have spent too much, and also, they're remembering the parts of Christmas which they really enjoyed, and, they can't replicate them in January. And to be honest with you, over the last few years, because of circumstances out of many people's control, it has been an overall negative experience. When it comes to, life compared to before. There's been a lot more restrictions on things. There's been a lot more issues when it comes to depression and stress for people. So from stuff like that, you're always going to see more of it as you go through. Now, for me, when it comes to my mindset, when it comes to how I've dealt with things over the years, negativity is a useful tool if it's used in the purpose of trying to construct something which then ends up in optimism or positivity. So being negative about a product in order to change it to be more positive for more people is completely fine and also useful in many different areas. The problem is distinguishing the difference between constructive negativity or constructive feedback, depending on what you want to see, and also destructive, meaning that it is completely useless and also at the same time just muddies the water. I see this quite a lot when it comes to online stuff in general, where what you'll have axioms which are used by people, where the idea is just basically just throwing out stuff. Gaijin doesn't know what they're doing. Gaijin can't balance things. The game is unfair. All of this stuff. And it was actually quite funny. There was a Reddit thread the other day talking about how there was actually at least some documents released a few years ago from a website which used to cover stuff about World of Tanks, and it was talking about how there was paid campaigns back in the day from Wargaming to try and discredit War Thunder when it first started. And you can actually see the same ideas and same beliefs push forward, and it's really interesting to see how some of them have stuck for this long and will continue to stick because some people's brains are monkeyed. So the fact is, negativity is one of those things which will always be there. You have to work out if the individual you're talking to is worth listening to or not. And then also, on top of that, realize the golden rule. War Thunder's a video game. Video games are meant for having fun. If you are not having fun in the video game, there is something you are fundamentally doing wrong. If you are in a state where you find yourselves playing the game in a negative way and really struggling to be able to continue to, basically function, and instead what keeps happening to you is you keep falling apart and, you feel like you have to be negative all the time, it might be worth maybe trying to find something else, because what ends up happening if you stay in that mindset, it will either start affecting other areas of your life, or you are already in that mindset because other areas of your life are already screwed and you are taking it out in other places. There is a real simple psychological phenomenon where if you are having a terrible time in life, maybe your job's going badly, maybe your relationships are awful, maybe you've done something and you're very sad about it, a lot of people take it out in other areas of their life. And if the avenue people have for their hobby is gaming and they take it out in that, then, there's not really a lot you can do about it. So if I'm honest with you, when it comes to the negativity and stuff, I check if it's constructive. If it's not constructive and it's just blind whining, then I just ignore it. It's pretty much as simple as that. I've heard everything, I think, when it comes to War Thunder, like positive and negative. I've heard like maybe 90-95% of the ideas that are out there, and at this point it's very easy for me to tell if it's worth continuing conversations with people or I am just wasting my time. So yeah, it's a video game, it's here for an enjoyment. Make sure to try and enjoy it, and if you're not, either you need to change something or you need to work out why you are in that mindset. It's pretty much as simple as that. So, simple as that. Nice to see you, Ironcross. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're doing well, Disturbed. Hopefully everything is good. You happy? You passed your truck trailer license today? Oh, that's all fine. Well done. Fantastic. Oh, you did the Type 99 one, I Like Games? Oh, that's pretty good. Well, the thing I would say, I Like Games, is you just, you need somebody to proofread your stuff. Because the information is there, right? Like, the information that you're trying to confer is there. But the issue is it's mangled in with a bunch of other information. So it's very simple, it's very simple to, like, understand where you're coming from when it comes to that stuff. But what needs to be done is you need to just basically focus the parts which are important. So what I would do with your articles that you've written, I'll get somebody to proofread them for you, and also read them out loud to yourself, or at least try to, even if it's in your native language, so you can kind of understand, what it actually sounds like. Because there's a lot of information there which it doesn't really need to be there, in the form of like joining sentences and things like that, which might make a lot of sense in your native language, but in English it makes it quite it adds a lot of junk basically to what's trying to be said. And don't worry, you're not the only person who does this. The vast majority of the articles do this, but that one was just a prominent one which was very easy to look at. So I apologize if I caused offense. I didn't mean to. But one thing that has to be done is a bit of proofreading. I'm doing well, Ironcross. Feeling good today. We're just doing the Q&A stuff, so we're going through the questions. And if you have any questions, by the way, guys, make sure to put them in. No, it's all good. I Like Games. Like the thing is, we learn from these, right? So if you have any other articles, or if you're thinking about doing any in the future, just make sure to do that. It's all good. The fact that you're making the suggestions is really awesome, right? Because it's cool to read about the information. It's nice to go through it. It would just be nice if it was a bit easier to go through. Like it's as simple as that, So the next question is from Blade Pooper 23. I feel sorry for the other 22. What are your thoughts on gauging adding more and more top-tier premiums and squadron vehicles for the new players to waste their money on? How long will the Q&A vid be? However long it takes me to get through the questions. So they're gonna continue adding high-ranking premiums as the game increases in BR, as it increases in ranks. They're gonna keep adding premiums. It's as simple as that. It's part of their business model. To be honest with you, I don't mind the premium ones. As long as they have close to tech tree equivalents. Like, we had the A1, L44 for the longest time, and then finally we got the 1A5. So now I feel like that one's okay. The XM1's a little bit rough, when it comes to that stuff. Type 74s as well. But generally, you know, they're going to keep doing it. The terms is probably the biggest issue right now, at least in ground. And in air, I think one of the bigger issues is the J35A. But, you know, it just kind of is how it is. It's part of the business model. I'm fine with them doing it as long as they do tech tree equivalents, which are equivalent, by the way, and not completely different roles and completely different playstyles. The Squadron vehicles, I think, is way more egregious at the moment. The Su-22 is a Squadron vehicle, the Leo 2PL. Now, the fact is, these are designed, if you actually look at them, to bolster lineups for high-ranking players. And what you'll find is you'll find a lot of veteran players. I'm not one of them, but there are many out there because I've talked to them and I've asked them about these. And they want high-ranking Squadron vehicles because they see them as vehicles to attain over time, and they want something that is worth their time. And what is seen as worth their time is these high-ranking Squadron vehicles. And because of that, we're stuck in an unfortunate situation. So you have one side of it where people are saying, well, they shouldn't add these top-tier vehicles because, you know, people who are noobs in the game are playing them and, you know, they're ruining top-tier. And then you've got the other side, which is a bunch of top-tier people or a bunch of people who've played the game for a very long time who go, yeah, but I want Squadron vehicles which are high BR or high rank because otherwise I don't think it's worth grinding them out. So you've got these two competing ideas against each other. And either you put in like a barrier, like Astro just said, where you put in like a level 30 barrier or something when it comes to, you know, the levels. You either put in a barrier, which is something I've personally advocated for when it comes to the premium stuff. I've always said to make the game more fair and balanced, and also a little bit more fun for people who are grinding through the tech trees, I don't think you should be able to buy premiums if you don't have at least one of the vehicles from the rank below it. I don't like the fact that people can just buy off the bat rank 6 premiums when they're in rank 1, right? I would put that limiter in. But if you don't put in something like that, then you've basically got to go chat to the people who want these high tier stuff, who have been players for a long time, right? And if you want an example of this, it's one that I saw recently with the new battle pass, right? With the firepower battle pass. One of the things that was brought up by a lot of people was the idea that the SU-8 wasn't a good level 75 vehicle because it wasn't high enough BR. And to me that's not a huge thing, you know. That's not really an issue when it comes to these things. But for other people, it is a huge issue because they want to see their time worth it, and higher BR equals better vehicle when it comes to their mind. Even though technically it's a low BR vehicle at a high rank, so it'll be really good for grinding, people still want better vehicles to be able to grind them out. Same thing with events, you know, with the MiG-23 recently. People want to put in the time and for it to be worth it. So what we've got to do is we've got to sit down, we've got to have some conversations about where is this line drawn. Now for me, I think, you know, rank 4s, rank 5s are fine, but there are people pushing for rank 6s and 7s, and that's unfortunately what we're getting right now. And since we seem to be getting more of them, it seems to be the thing that, you know, people are responding to monetarily, which is the biggest issue when it comes to the whole thing. You know, Gaijin wouldn't do it if people didn't buy it. It's as simple as that. So it is a problem from a gameplay point of view. I think it's a huge problem, and it's one that will continue to be a problem, but it has been a problem since the dawn of War Thunder. So I don't think it's going to change. You know, back in the day, it was stuff like the Focke-Wulf 490 D13, for example. That was a very high BR vehicle, which used to be able to grind out the whole tech tree. There was also others as well for other tech trees which were about, even the A6M5 Co, which was fantastic and still is fantastic for grinding out the Japanese tech tree. The British had, I don't even know what the British had actually, but the Americans had the Spitfire LF Mark 9 which was used. Same with the Soviets, they had a similar vehicle. So these ideas have been around since the dawn of War Thunder. It's just getting worse and worse and worse as we're getting more tech trees and more vehicles as it goes along. I mean, it's a problem. you know, maybe limitations have to be put into place, but I think at this point, there isn't really a way of fixing it. It's kind of here to stay, and it's time to play around those vehicles. As long as they're not too egregious, in my opinion, and there aren't at least that many examples of the too egregious ones. Are you mentally ready for the F14 Premium that will be introduced in like a year or two after the regular one is added? It might even be at the same time, Juan. I think personally what they're going to do with it is they're going to do what they did with the F5, where they're going to add the C and the E at the same time. So yeah. I really wanted more squad tanks, both low and top tier. I mean, they're free and most of them are somehow special, even if it's just how they look. Yeah, so would I. I would be fine with a bunch of low ranking ones, which are like 500 KRP, right? But also at the same time, I'm in a squad which is highly efficient when it comes to research, and also highly efficient when it comes to, you know, activity. So yeah, it's slightly different for me when it comes to stuff. The next question, let's see, is from Jackson. Finally got to play against you, I hope. Low tier, so it could have been an improbability. I play all tiers of the game. It really depends. So recently, hey Nasos, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Sujet a lot. One of the things that has been really cool has been the Memorial Date stuff. So I've been playing a lot of around about ranks, so I've actually been all over the place, which has been pretty cool. But now we've kind of spaded everything. The only thing that brings me back to low ranks is the Memorial Day events. So you probably could have seen me. It's pretty much as simple as that. Let's see. Is there any more? I keep taking breaks and yet still come back. It's so easy to get burnt out on, or even rage quit at times. Well, yeah, but you know, you just got to you just gotta continue. Like, if that's the case, then you just need shorter periods of playing. That's generally the way that it goes. I still don't get why the Tiger 2 is fighting T-54, T-55. The basic reason is there are not enough players at the BR bracket in order to expand it so they don't fight them. I don't think Tiger 2s fight T-55s though, because T-55s start at what, 8-0, so they can't see them. But yeah, because you don't. I mean, I've talked about it before many times on the channel about BR compression. How it's not just a thing you can just like do overnight. Nice to see you, Challenger 3. Hopefully you're doing alright. Nice to see you too, Astro. I'm doing well, man. Like, it's not because let's say you expand that BR bracket, then what you also do is expand all the other ones which are above it. So it might not screw over like that BR bracket because there might be enough players, but it might screw over another BR bracket, and then what ends up happening is you have a BR, let's say, I don't know. So that BR bracket is what, 6-7 to 7-3. So now you've made it 0.3 BR difference. Maybe there's not a ton of, I don't know. Maybe there's not a ton of 8-3 vehicles, which I don't think there is. So then the 8-3s either fight 8-7s or they fight 8-0s. But because nobody's playing 8-0s, because all of the 7-7s are getting dragged into the 7-3s, fighting stuff like the T-54s, then the 8-0s have longer queue times. So then people start gravitating towards the 8-3s and the 7-7s to play them because they're getting matches quicker, and then the 8-0 BR dies. So then what ends up happening is, because people get longer queue times there, then the newer players who are going into that BR bracket don't have the same... what's the word? The new players going into that BR bracket don't have the same base of players that the other BRs do, so therefore they have longer queue times, they don't want to play it, so they grind past them without playing those vehicles by playing the lower ones, and effectively you've just killed a BR, and that means that you unbalance that BR bracket. We already see that now in, like, you know, greater extent. With jets is probably the major one, like 9390 jets, right? Where they always face like 97s, 10-0s. That's one of the more egregious examples, which is why you don't see a lot of 9.0 vehicles. So you got to be super careful while moving stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of those things you gotta really worry out for. I did like a whole video ages ago about this. Like I went through the whole issues with BRD compression and how this is why they're not just gung-ho with it. Even though over the last year they've done a ton of it, by the way. Like we've had increases in ground, we've had 2 increases in aviation, and we've also had like a 1.0 BR increase in naval, so like they're really increasing it quite a lot. Hey Machu Picchu, nice to see you. You think grind stock for naval is bad? Did you try to grind helicopters? No, but I'm sure both are bad. Simple fallacy idea. Just because one thing is bad doesn't mean that something else is good. Both can be bad. You know, one may be worse than the other, but that still means that it's bad. You know, it's just one is bad and the other is badder. I'm sure helicopters are awful. I've only played the H1G a bit, that's about it. What do you think about the naval split and the fact that a high BR coastal vessel costs a lot, both SL and RP, compared to the blue water ships of the same BR to be unlocked? Grind, plus sometimes a reserve blue water ship can outperform those higher rank coastal vessels at the same battle rating. Do you think we need a separate maps like what we had recently, Drowned City, for those coastal vessels? Or do you think that fighting destroyers is some sort of a soft balance so they don't smash low-ranking vessels? Also, what do you think about those coastal-only maps? If there was enough players playing coastal, I would be 100% in favor of coastal-only maps. That is the gameplay I enjoy the most. I personally really enjoy that. I like the fast movement of it. I like generally how they feel. I think it's really fun and really active to play coastal, especially in arcade. It's a fantastic time. By the way, thank you for the follow, Cody, and also Lotoro. That's very kind of you. But it depends if the player base is there. And I feel like when they split coastal and blue water, they had ideas of attracting the player base and splitting them when it comes to Matchmaker. Otherwise, why would they make a map like the Drowned City? Like, why would that exist? Surely if they weren't going to try and do that stuff, they wouldn't even think about making maps like that. So there's obviously been a thought towards that idea, and I hope at some point it is more imagined or more brought to reality, I should say. Because the fact is, you're completely right. High-end coastal vehicles are not worth the RP that you see on them. And this is something we talked about when splitting a tech tree. And this is why I will always be against splitting the tech tree for the ground stuff and splitting the tech tree for the aviation stuff. It's all well and good wanting an easier way to get to top tier, even though it's not required. Like, let's say the M46. Oh, well, you get a reserve M46. That's really cool, you know? That's awesome. But the T-34 for America is now 380,000 RP. So who's going to play that? Who's a new player? No one. It's just going to cease to exist. And welcome to what happened to a lot of vehicles in Naval. The PR-159, the PR-35, even the Squadron vehicle. A lot of high-end coastal vehicles like the stuff such as the Albatross, for example. Or even, is it the Blackpool, I think, for the British? I just haven't seen them hardly ever recently. Because the only people who take them out are people who played Naval for a long time. They ground them out before the system, and they play them now to be able to get quick caps, to get themselves an advantage in the game, and then they go into their destroyers. That's all they do. Every time. So the splitting of the tech trees, there's two things. It gets more people into, Naval who want to play big ships. And it gives them a period where it's much easier for them to go into, right? Because, the grind's a lot easier. But at the same time, it torpedoes another part of the game. And that, to me, was a problem at the time. It still is a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem. But the fact is, do the positives outweigh the negatives? Does having that extra set of players in the game outweigh the amount of people who are trying to play high-tier Coastal? Yeah, probably. Massively, actually, I'd probably say. You know, everyone I've talked to, when it comes to like the Gaijin guys, they've said it's been massively big. You know, it's been very, very good. So my guess is that they're okay with it. But it does torpedo that area of the game, and it makes it very sad. It's very similar to like mid-tier helicopters, right? Or like 10-0 aviation. Well, sorry, like 10-3, 10-7 aviation.
Hello there.
They just get outmatched, and it just sucks to play. So you've got to try and find other ways of playing them, and even then, you know, only the mighty survive when it comes to top tier Coastal, which is one of the other problems which happens when you have like a really tiny set of people playing a certain part of the game. So the less people you have playing a BR bracket, the less variety you get, because the new players who come in aren't going to try the new vehicles, and all the people who stick around to play it are the ones who are going to play the meta vehicles. So if you want an example of this, Helicopter EC. Everyone just plays the K50. Anybody who doesn't just gets annihilated. It's a concrete example of that. So you don't want that to happen to other parts of the game. And unfortunately, that is what has kind of happened for top tier Coastal. They are outdone by stuff which is way cheaper than them and also way easier to play. So there's not really a huge reason to play them, and that kind of sucks. Hopefully we do see more Coastal maps. Hopefully, I've only seen Drowned City once when it comes to the map rotator. So yeah, I hope that it does, you know, continue to build those maps. Hey Charlie, nice to see you. It's going well, man. Feeling good today. We're just in the Q&A portion. We saw a lot of modern vehicles in the past of the Developers series, especially this year with the MiG-29 and F-14. Do you think War Thunder will take a right step if they add it, or do you think they'll hold it off and sort the current content out? They're not gonna just quickly jump to those types of vehicles. And also, at the same time, last year, like last Christmas or the Christmas before, when they had the what is it called? They had the one where the community got to pick what was passed, and stuff like the F-16 got passed, like then. So it was just the Japanese one instead. So stuff like that's been passed for ages, for years now when it comes to the game. Past the Developers, I'm really hoping doesn't have any input on development. I'm sure it doesn't, because War Thunder as an entity and Gaijin as a whole have plans which are several years in the future. You know, they don't just look at past the Developers every month and go, oh, we forgot about that one. Quick, somebody make it, and then we'll put it into the game in a few months. Like, it's, you know, they have plans which string over several years. You know, Oxy, even on the official stream, started talking about, like, the 5-year plan, which is a funny phrase, but you understand it, right? Like, they're a well-structured company, and they understand where they're going to go with the product. So, like, I would be very surprised if we see anything like that anytime soon, especially over this year. I think there's plenty of other things that they're going to add. There's still a ton of stuff that they could chuck into the game, so simple as that. You got your bench PB to 50. Nice, Charlie. Well done. Keep going. You're doing great. Right, let's see. There we go. So this is from Carlo. Why did you not include the issue of ghost shells? Gaijin claims that these things have been fixed, but in reality it's got even worse. The reason why I didn't include ghost shells in my top 3 issues when it comes to War Thunder is because one of the 3 issues was the servers. And the issue that they have on being stable is probably the best way of putting it. So for me, when it comes to ghost shells, I think that's related to server issues. So by bringing up or fixing server issues and players' connections to the server and the stability of the server, I personally believe that ghost shells will reduce. Ghost shells are something which aren't just prevalent in War Thunder. They are prevalent in any video game which has access to online PvP stuff. It's just much more noticeable in War Thunder because of the fact that you get like one shot every 5, 6, 7 seconds, right? When it comes to ground vehicles. That's why in air, ghost shells are a lot less seen, unless you're really looking for them. They used to be way more of an issue. We used to spark thunder, if anybody remembers that stuff. So yeah. So the way that I see it is if they fix the server issues, or if they improve the server quality, or just improve the connections that people have on the infrastructure side of things, then what that just means is that will also go with it. So by fixing the overall issue, you fix the issue under it, right? That's the way that I see that stuff. So we have the other guy. Let's see what it says here. So Ghost Hamster instead of Ghost Shell? I mean, pretty much, yeah. Daily test done, VCC 6080 done, Vickers Mark 3 almost done. I think not bad progress at all. You've done great, Ironcross. Well done. Keep it up. So, we have, how do you think Israel Naval Forces is going to be handled? I don't think it is. I don't think Israel Naval Forces are going to exist. They're not going to be in the game. They're just gonna. I mean, there's already a bunch of nations which don't have navies in them, and I'm sure a lot of them will get into the game. But there is no way Israel gets a navy in War Thunder. I think they're gonna do an aviation tech tree. I think they're gonna do a ground tech tree. Then they're gonna do a very, very small helicopter tech tree. But they're not gonna do the naval stuff. It's a simple fact that Israel as a nation in War Thunder is very ground centric, which is why a lot of people have been looking forward to the ground tech tree and haven't cared about the aviation tech tree. And in order to support the ground tech tree, you need an aviation tree, which they already have, and they need a helicopter tree. What you don't need is a naval tech tree. And since Israel doesn't really have a lot of naval forces to be able to actually build from, then they're just not going to make it into the game. So yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. I think what will happen is, as we've already seen with the aviation stuff is massively designed around the idea that ground is going to come out. Like, that's all I can say. Pretty much every vehicle, bar like one or two, is designed for ground combat in the aviation tree for Israel. So the naval tree is just not going to exist. I would be amazed if in 10 years' time we're sat here still playing War Thunder for some reason, and there is a Israeli naval tree. I think there's going to be way more different things from there. Oh, you got the decal done? Well done, Ironcross. Hey, the other one, GG. Nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. Nice to see you too, Fuji. Right now, air and ground vehicles are at a balance, kind of, although the air part is as of right now at least 30 to 40 years technologically behind. How do you think the inevitable addition of more modern aircraft will affect BR, rank, and of course their participation in combined battles? I think aviation is going to outspeed ground. I don't think ground is going to keep up with top tier aviation. We already saw it with some of the BR changes that were put out recently, where the aviation stuff went up to 11.3 and the ground stuff was more tentative when it comes to its up tiering. I don't even know did they go up to 11.3? Yeah, they haven't even gone up to 11.3 in ground yet. Like the 2A6 is 11.0, the BVM is 11.0, the M1A2 is 11.0. So that is, they've already shown that aviation is going to outdo ground when it comes to BRs, and it obviously is going to. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, aviation in the modern day is way more important than ground units. It has been since World War II, if we're honest. World War II was the last really, you know, well, sorry, the First World War or the Spanish Civil War was probably the last war which was very much ground centric, whereas even the Second World War, you know, domination in the air was vitally important to winning the war, compared to domination on the ground. So yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. We're gonna keep getting more and more vehicles. We're gonna keep getting more stuff when it comes to aviation, and they'll just be high BR. They already are. So yeah, it's pretty much how it is. Would you like to see some break game modes again? Would you change it in some way? I'd like to see break back. I would change the spawns. The spawns were the massive issue in the break game mode, because if you took a cap, then what you could do is you could quickly cap, J out, and then go spawn and annihilate the people who are trying to take the other cap. So I would like a break game mode which is a little bit less punishing. Maybe you could give people more spawns so they don't just get spawn camped constantly. Maybe a change in how spawn points work in it, something like that. But yeah, I'd like to see it back. I thought the game mode was good. It just had an issue with the way that the spawns worked in relation to when you captured stuff. What nation do you think could go with Israel? If I was going to meme, I'd say Egypt. But I don't think there will be one. The only thing you could literally put in Israel is the Arab countries, and good luck doing that without causing a few issues. I think they'll get some captured vehicles. You know, I think they'll get stuff like the T-55 and things like that. But I don't think they're gonna go with Israel. If you mean in the matchmaker, they're going to be put on whatever side can take them. They'll be exactly the same as a lot of the other minor nations, where they get put on whichever side because they don't have enough of a player base to form full teams of themselves. So you'll see one or two of them running around on either side, normally the weaker side, because that's the one that less people have queued up for. In light of recent events, if Russia does invade Ukraine, how do you think it will affect Gaijin, the game, and the community? I think if the Russia invades Ukraine, we should all be focused on other things instead of a video game. It is pretty much impossible to tell how or what's going to happen, if the services are going to continue, if they're not. Obviously, Gaijin is independent from the Russian government, but it depends. It depends on what the Russian government decides to do. But at the same time, I don't think it's worth worrying about. I think it's much better to worry about things which are outside of video games at that point, if we're at that point. Pretty much as simple as that. I mean, like Argentina goes in the German tech tree. Well, yeah, but you should have a look at the links of Argentina post-World War II with the Germans. Do you think the LTMs, limited time game modes, will benefit War Thunder in the near and far future? Currently in the game, we have April Fool's events, unfortunately that become a test event in an indirect way, which become a stable event. Why not other types of fun events? At some point, we had a team deathmatch both for air and tanks. Game modes, we could gain some RP and SL. Other ideas, what we could do. Tank v tank battles without planes helis, ARB but cockpit view only. Oh, Jesus. Free-for-all deathmatch. I mean, I'll be fine with them continuing to do events on the weekends. If they wanted to do different game modes or if they wanted to try different things. They've done it for years, and I'm sure they'll continue to do it. One of the major issues with doing long-term limited time game modes, let's call them that, is people figure out what the meta is, and then they just play one side. The queue times become outrageous, and then nobody gets to play. If you want an example of this, go look at Ground Sim. Or also you can, I mean, if you were around at the time, you can remember the Flight of the Swallows event, or other events like that, or World War II Chronicles, where the vast majority of the community just was on one side of it because they wanted to play those vehicles and they thought they were better, or they thought they'd have more fun. So what would end up happening is you would just get a really, really, really unbalanced setup, and nobody would get in games because the queue times were really long and people would just give up and the event would die. Over a weekend's period, this may not happen because people might not figure out the meta in time, and also it will be something new every few weeks or so more people would get involved. So Yeah, I'd like to see more of them. See you later, Hans. Have a good time, man. But at the same time, I don't think they should be long-standing things, because people get bored with them. They have to keep continuing. Who cares about Naval? A few here and there should be dropped for good. Well, I care about Naval, so, you know, simple as that. There are 3 main problems: BR compression, ghost shells, planes and choppers, and ground abbey. Yeah. Oh boy. Why is there even a modification of research when a research vehicle must come fully upgraded? It's okay to increase the vehicle research costs, but when I did, must come fully upgraded. The reason why there's research in the vehicle itself is to get you to grind the vehicle. I don't know what else to say. Could they have you set up 2 lineups and randomize which side you're on? Oh, that would be kind of cool. They do that in Enlisted, actually. So, they basically, you can queue up for both sides of a campaign, which is really cool. So I wish they would actually add that to War Thunder. You could queue up with, you know, let's say, oh, I want to play Germany or Britain, I'm not sure, but that would be cool. More enlisted content in 2022. I actually answered this guy, and yes. Now that I've completed all the content from basically December that I wanted to get done, now I'll start working on the enlisted stuff. So, and also we're going to be streaming it more because, you know, I really enjoy that. Do you remember when they removed modern avatars and said that it was temporary? It's been almost 2 years since they removed it. I hope they make it back. I mean, that's fair. I mean, they added some aviation ones. Maybe they'll bring back the tank ones. There must have been some issues with licensing, or someone must have made a complaint or something. But I don't know why else they would have removed them. So maybe it's like a legal issue. But obviously I can't comment on that because I don't know. But that to me would symbolize something that might have gone on there. Otherwise they might have been back. The game needs to start dying, otherwise they won't do anything. This is... Oh, God. I wonder why the game isn't dying. Is it because they're doing stuff? I don't know. Who knows? I do like that idea, though. It's like we must cause a revolution for them to listen. I wish there were more unique titles. Yeah, same. And I'm sure they'll come. Unique issue I see in Naval is compression BR and RP mod in big ships. Yeah, you're not wrong, Ironcross. What do you think about the idea of dividing the tech tree in aviation and ground like in Naval, separating jets from props and Cold War from World War II? Well, as I said, I already mentioned this for another one. I don't think it's needed. And also, what do you do for a nation like Sweden? So, if we just quickly look at Sweden, right? So, separating Cold War from World War II. So these are World War II. Apart from this. This is World War II. And this is World War II. This is World War II. This is post-World War II. So basically you have half of, well, majority of rank 1 and half of rank 2. That's your World War II. Everything else is post-World War II. Apart from, I believe, the L-62. I think this was in World War II. So, what do you do? Then planes. Basically, I can't remember if this was post-World War II. I think it might have been. This was post-World War II for the Swedish. Obviously, all of this stuff is. So, yeah. That's one of the major issues. The idea of splitting stuff, Cold War and World War II, just like the idea of historical matchmaking, like, it works for maybe 1 or 2 nations, but it just screws over everybody else. Because there are vehicles that are built in World War II, which are superior to ones which were built after. Also, what do you do with stuff like the R3T20? Or the PBV? Like, where do you put those things? But, I understand why people want them. Like, I understand why people want the split, because they want to get to top tier quicker. But as I said, it comes with a consequence, which is a lot of late rank 3 or early rank 4 vehicles become 380,000 RP. And that just means those vehicles will cease to exist from the battlefield. And it may actually screw up the matchmaker, because it means that certain nations might not have vehicles at those BRs anymore. I think if the Tiger 2H was 380,000 RP, you know, like what if the Tiger 2H was 380,000 RP? Do you think people would be happy with that? What about the IS2? What if the IS2 44 was 380,000 RP? You know, are you planning on doing a Q&A more often? If people want it, sure. I don't mind doing them. It's kind of like the fireside chats, right? I don't mind sitting here and chatting about stuff. You know, I think on the stream we do a decent amount of Q&A anyway. We're kind of sitting down and thinking about things pretty good. But yeah, I feel Naval needed it because of the fact that the player base was diminished in it, right? And they needed to do something to try and kickstart it, and it worked. Whereas aviation and ground don't need that. Aviation, it's very easy to grind through. I know people are gonna scream at me for saying that, but aviation is not hard to grind compared to other areas of the game. And in ground, because it's so lineup centric, when it comes to the vehicles themselves, it is necessary that you grind through them at an even pace. For each area. So, yeah. I don't think either of those need anything. Hey, Special Donkey, nice to see you. Yeah, the 380k Firebrand, exactly. Like, yeah, it's, Can you imagine? It would be more like 270k, wouldn't it? Like, goddamn. But yeah. I don't think they need to change anything. Why does this guy talk about the stock grind but know nothing about how a regular player plays the game with a stock grind that does not have premium account or golden eagles to back them up? This guy does not have to even play through the stock grind because he has lots of silver lions to buy through parts. He has not even spoken about the silver lions rewards nerf on the ground with regular planes. I just use regular premium planes to earn enough silver lions to buy regular planes. My streams show that I grind through everything as everyone else would. The only thing that I afford myself is premium time. I don't use GE to research anything. It just kind of sits there. I use it on the dev server, so I can make videos that I want to make. Yeah, so I understand the pains of grinding. Have done for a long time. You know, all I have to do to understand where premium players are at when it comes to grinding, or non-premium players, is I need to half the amount of stuff that it brings in. So I don't know. I try my best to try and stick more to the average person's grind than most CCs, just so I can actually give opinions on these things, what's worth it and what's not. So I don't know. That's how it is. I don't know what else I could do. Apart from creating a free-to-play account and doing it like that. But the problem with doing that is it's against Gaijin's TOS. Repair costs should be more standardized. Ooh. My boy has been reading the news. This guy is a prophet, by the way, Jean Delacroix. He knew about it before it happened. Goddamn. Ping is not a problem, it's just you. I always have 30 to 40 ping, packet loss 0%. Ping is definitely an issue for people. You know. And also at the same time, when it comes to ping, not all of us have the luxury of living near servers. So the higher the ping, the worse it is. Like, unless you are high enough where you get compensated. Like they do some, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like lag compensation. So it actually works in your favor, which is why you have some what is it called? What was I gonna say? Always have 30 to 40 ping packet loss. God, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, basically they have like this lag compensator thing, so if you have really high ping, then it actually can work out for you, which is quite nice. But yeah, it's just how it goes. Let's see if I can find that thing. It's the one that I always bring up. Because there was that what was that thing? Whoops. So there's something about multiple, which is written somewhere. Ah, here we go. Found it. What were you saying? According to Oxy, alt accounts are allowed. I couldn't find anything whenever I've read the TOS. Right, let's type in the word multiple. The user shall not create multiple accounts. Do I need anything else? Maybe the Guardian employee should read his own terms of use. Right. Back to reality. Ted claims to understand our struggles, but look at the fat cats at Guardian. Pad is Golden Eagle's wallet. True. Let's see. What's your opinion on War Thunder? Do you enjoy it or do you hate it? I enjoy War Thunder. I have a really good time with it. I wouldn't play it every day if I didn't enjoy it. I'm not a masochist. I actually am a sane individual who has, you know, normal human relationships and a normal job, a normal life, and I like to do it in my spare time. It's a fun, enjoyable thing. I really enjoy playing War Thunder. Gaming, once again, is about fun. If I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't do it. I would go do other stuff. Because I like to smile, you know. I like to laugh. I like to be happy. I don't like being stuck in a negativity spiral, which is a problem for some. Oh, things have been good, Special Donkey. I'm feeling good today, man. Just kind of relaxing. It just made me unsubscribe. What did I do? Let's see.
Slightly.
Oh, I killed a H6K in my Mirage. No exceptions. As we've said many times. No exceptions. Didn't know being a masochist and a shill were mutually exclusive. Oh, true. You can ask some other CCs about that one. Oh, boy. Right. Where were we? Here we are. For me, it's the grind, shitty events, bad UI. Yeah. To make War Thunder better for 2022, remove the building destruction crap. It's not Battlefield. Plus, on a weak system, be it a weak PC or older consoles, every time a bomb blows up, the lag it causes gets killed. Or the FPS drop stuff. Yeah, I've heard that actually. I've heard that is a decent issue for a lot of people. Didn't know being a massive. Oh no, I already read that. No, I'm not a lizard. Not today. Right, is there any small follow-up questions? So we can do like a kind of quick fire round, or should we get back into gameplay? and finish spading this F-104. I kind of enjoy doing Q&A stuff. You know, it gives me time to analyze things. That's why I like the fireside chat stuff, right? Like, as long as I don't have to have the same conversation 50 times, like it's not bad, you know. Like it's not too bad. Let's say independent tree or no? Nah. I like it as a subtree. And also it means that I actually think South Africa have more of a claim to be an independent tech tree than Israel does. But I also believe that Israel should have also been a subtree. So I think subtrees are the way of the future when it comes to War Thunder. It means that it's easier to grind through them, and you get to have full lineups instead of the age-old issue that a lot of independent trees have, where they have terrible lineups for years. Like, it's as simple as that. Maybe they could just make it so you turn off destruction animations. Yeah, true. So it's just like, I think, doesn't World of Tanks do that? Where like with fences and stuff, like they just disappear. Like maybe they could do stuff like that. How do you give massage to Gorilla, and how much does it pay for you to do that? Old job tech. Unfortunately, there is no money. It was more voluntary work at the end of the day. Sometimes we have to look after our equals, and that's what we have to do with the silverback. Proofreading, proof watching, is that a word? I have some slight editing issue, but not really noticeable. Yeah, proof watching is a thing, but you know how it is. But yeah, that brings to the end of the Q&A. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more of these, make sure to put in. We'll be covering the other Q&As, like the enlisted one, and then also the War Thunder one when it happens on stream, so that should be pretty fun. Oh wait, we have one more. Would you like a tech tree that's available to supplement all nations, as long as you have the equipment tiers in them? Now that's an interesting idea. I would like that, yeah. I don't know how it would go though. It would have to be like an amalgamation of vehicles from other tech trees, you know. But generally, it would be kind of cool to see like you know how we've talked about like a big European tech tree, or like a combined minor European nation tech tree. They could do that and then supplement other nations with it. I tend to disagree. Israel has a lot of ground vehicles. They can add. South Africa doesn't have nearly as many. I mean, if you added all the variants and prototypes and stuff that South Africa had, yeah, they do. They just don't have a top tier. Like there's a ton of South African vehicles they can still add. And aviation, I mean, a lot of Israel, a lot of South Africa aviation is copy paste or variants of stuff from other nations, and that's basically what the Israel tree is. They even have the Royvalk, which is cooler than the Apache. What are your opinions on adding a player council? Stop trying to trigger me, Juan. We've been through that before. Not a huge fan, as I've said many times. Personal biases are an issue. The idea that the representatives would be able to represent community opinion, even though that's impossible to do. The expertise that's involved in that as well is a ridiculous amount, and expected from people who are neither interested with it and only looking for power or a free holiday. At the same time as well, we've already had a player council. It crashed and burned, so that idea is dead in the water. What are some subtech trees that could be added to France? You could add the North African colonies if you want. That would be funny. But there aren't that many. But to be honest with you, France doesn't need it. France is fine by itself. It doesn't need extra stuff. Oh, I know about the Optimum, yeah. Like, as I said, like, you know, South Africa has a ton of ground vehicles. You know, they have oh, I know, Juan, don't worry. South Africa has a ton of stuff. They just don't have an 11-3 lineup, you know. where technically Israel could. You just chose the Roy Valk over the Apache. You can now expect my life savings in your bank account by 12 p.m. Well, it's just a cooler vehicle. Like, everybody's got Apaches. And the Roy Valk is just, you know, it's by itself. But yeah, that concludes the Q&A. And we'll probably do another one in the future. But I enjoyed doing this. This was fun. Let's do it again.